Okay, we are live and sharing screen. This is going to be a short session today. I have a lot of stuff to do with just other things, just like work and wedding planning things. So this is going to be a short stream, but I wanted to touch base, and I just made a post on Instagram basically stating that I'm very confident in this, that Bott-Periodicity is this. I've stated that I've thought it was before for over a year, but I stated today I'm very, very confident in it. And I posted it. I called this structure um, the the stages of sentience. And it's basically the levels of life, it's the levels of growth of life. But I called it the stages of sentience. And I'm pretty sure, like, if you're not already aware, that Bott-Periodicity is equal to what I call the stages of sentience, which are the steps in the growth process of life, of consciousness, of the cosmos in my cosmological verse model. So this is pretty profound if it's correct. The reason why I think it's correct, other than just the fact that it's 8 and the descriptions of it as being loops within loops are very loops of loops within loops, it makes perfect sense. A consciousness is a self-referencing structure that has intrinsic oneness. That's exactly the same as a loop. A loop of information. Information that is self-referencing is informed energy and energetic information. It's a loop. And that's why I'm pretty sure that this is correct initially, but also because when I started looking at, and I'm going to dive deep into all the symbols that I don't understand here because I don't have a PhD in math, but when I look at the difference between these two and this one, because I'm looking here and here, and then this one and this one, and then these three and this one, there's a difference happening. That is enough for me to see a very unique pattern that does seem to line up with this, and it has to do with observation. So essentially, when you think about your cells are not on the level of you, so you can't observe them. They're below you. You can observe them with a microscope, but you can't observe them just with your eyes and in your daily dealings. You don't think about them as cells. And what that means is that they are on a different level than organism. Okay? Which here, this is a difference. Family, though, is on the same level as organism. Because we look around, we can see the family structure. We can also see the caste structure around us. Same level. Technological singularity is beyond us. It's in the cyberspace. We know it's there, but we can't really see it. We can just kind of infer it. Same thing with your cells. Over here as well, atoms are not at the level of the molecule that is part of the periodicity of material sentience, or the, I guess you could call it, stages of material sentience, or stages of sentience. You could say it's the growth stages It's just the stages of sentience. I like when things are like alliterations, but it's obviously describing growth of the stages that make up a cosmological verse, because the molecular structure that goes on is mostly DNA, which is made of not just atoms. It's made of uh, macromolecules and things like that. And proteins and I don't know, all kinds of things. I'm not an expert in every field, guys, but I have it written down if I need to reference it. But I've looked at it. It's not made of protons and neutrons in an observable way. When you talk about DNA and what's it made of, you don't talk about it being made of protons and neutrons, or you don't talk about it being made of atoms either. So because of this, it's on a different level of observation. But these two are on the same level, because essentially a hadron is a proton or a neutron, which is a male or female, and an atom is a family. It is a marriage. And here you can see that organisms are on the same level as family. Now, caste isn't quite there, but that's fine, because that's a different type of structure. But because of the uniqueness of a technological singularity, it requires a different structure leading up to it than, cell. But still, it has this intrinsic oneness to it that is very much similar to a cell. So this pattern and the differentiation between the periods, I don't know if I'm doing a good job explaining it, but the differentiation between the periods is all I need to know that I'm on the right path. Because this is a very unique pattern. It's not just every other. It's not just this one, not this one, this one, not this one, this one, not this one. It's like 2, 1, 1, 3, 1. It seems almost random. Obviously, randomness doesn't exist, but it's unique enough, and to where the odds of it occurring here, essentially, in any form, are very unlikely unless this is the physical manifestation of this. And so, for over a year, I have been staring at this to try and find this pattern, and I have not been able to do it until the past month, and even the last week and a half. I was on a live stream last week, I think, where I just had an epiphany and I realized, and it's kind of cool to have that moment documented. I don't know how much it meant to everybody else, but it meant a lot to me, because this has been a very specific and important problem to me, because I've been trying to link these models to existing mathematical structures and models, theorems, and equations, functions that already exist, because then I'm not starting completely from scratch. And I also have a mathematical structure that I can make sense of this better with. By understanding this, you would understand this much more deeply. But also, if this is correct, you would be able to see whether or not these two things are the same, because you can actually compare it. You can compare this to this and see if they line up. So they definitely seem to, and I'm confident in saying that I'm confident about it at this point. So that was what I just posted, and like I said, this is going to be a very short stream, but I am looking into just a lot of these mathematical theorems like Bott-Periodicity theorem and, you know, the Calabi manifold and, you know, the 11 dimensions of, you know, string theory, even though I think that, like, I get it, but I just think that, I just think they're wrong. This is the issue with like like string theory, is it doesn't tell you what the Calabi manifold really is, and it's the binary triality. I'm pretty sure. I'm actually almost positive at this point, which is pretty cool. I can actually call it something different than just the binary triality. I can say it's the binary triality manifestation of information or observation of information that is the Calabi manifold. And understanding the Calabi manifold would help us understand these much better, because you would understand the relationships between them much better. And there's obviously very, very important relationships, as I've showed before, you know, with our senses here and, you know, the mathematical order of operations and, you know, our limbs and casts of a nation. There's all kinds of fascinating aspects of this. And you could use what has been done regarding the Calabi manifold to refine these to make sure that they're even more accurate, because there are some things here that are probably not accurate. This one is accurate. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. This one is accurate. 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 The fermions are accurate. Religion is accurate, I think. The Eastern religions are the only ones I'm not an expert on, but I know that I have Judaism, Christianity, and Islam's relationships nailed in this structure. I have the castes of a nation nailed. This is accurate, which is very important, because this is where we really need to start making sense. I think this is accurate. I think this is accurate. 6 fundamental solids. Sphere, tetrahedron, cube, octahedron, icosahedron, dodecahedron. It's a very important one, actually. Where should we put that? Right here. Meaning. It's another important one that we need to nail down, but it's not necessarily finalized. This is accurate. Basically. There's Philosophy Official. This is my old work, and I have so many more. The United Conscious Force Theory. That was one of my original terms, but I started looking at this universal pattern, this binary triality. This is where you can see I started. I was like, fundamental perspectives, fundamental perspective descriptions, Platonic solids, the forces, 5 elements, RNA and DNA, cellular life, Like I was starting to map this structure that is the Calabi manifold, I'm pretty sure, very, very early. So this document, how do I look at information? What is this? I want to see how old this is. Philosophy edition. Get info. Okay. Created. Okay, so this one, this is actually a duplicate because it says created July 31st, 2019. And in reality, this was it was earlier than that. But that's still 3 years old at this point, which is kind of crazy. Hello, everyone. I watched some Wolfram today. Nice. I never really watched Wolfram. It's too much like watching myself in a way, but more monotone and not as like concerned with cross field like applications, it seems. But his methodology is very similar to mine. I have a lot of Wolfram is great, but yeah, but I don't watch him very much. But whenever I listen to his talks, which is rare, but whenever I do, I'm like very happy that I did. We have to fit this family idea in with the idea of local minimums of organizational stability and their ability to reproduce or not decay as quickly as they can be formed. Yeah, it's called reproducing at above replacement rate. 11 dimensions is nonsense. Yeah, I think it's nonsense too. It comes from the periodicity of or the stages of sentience at 11, and after 11 stages you are back to where you started. You're one by one, like you're back where you started. So you've recreated another cosmological verse, which is why it's one by one. One created by one. It's super literal. Which 11 is primes. I want to look at this real quick. What is 11? The fourth prime number? Where's the prime? Here. Okay. Where is it? Here, the primes. Okay. Here's the primes. 11 is the sixth or seventh or fifth prime number, depending on if you start at 0, start at 1, or start at 2. So I have this chart starting at 1 or 0 or 2. And it tells you. So essentially it's the sixth. And the difference is 4, which means it's the number of completeness. What's interesting is that when you look at the prime numbers and you start at 0, you go 1, 1, 1, 1. That's 4 ones. Okay? Like the 4 primary perspectives, or, you know, everything starting from x4, like geometric unity says, or even like a yud hey vav hey, or the you know, tetrahedron being the basic building block in emergence theory. This shows, you can see this in prime numbers too. There's 4 ones as the difference between the prime numbers. And then it goes 2, 2, which is also 4. So then you get 8. At a sum of it, and look, guys, people say numbers mean nothing are crazy. So if the universe divides itself by 3 and puts 1/3 of its energy into creation, which it does, then it's really like 1 and then 1/3. Because even though you're really left with 2/3 being left for God, but in reality, it's like he didn't really sacrifice anything because he's still sovereign over everything. He didn't lose any power because power is subjective. So he's still sovereign over everything. It's as if he didn't give up anything. So it's kind of as if when you give 1/3 of energy to creation, instead of it still summing to 1, it simultaneously sums to 1 and also 1 and 1/3, because he is adding information that wasn't already there when he creates the universe. Look at the average here. 1.333333 repeating. So 1 and 1/3. The count is 6. The sum is 8. Right here. Fascinating. And look, it's on the 7th, on the prime 7. That is amazing. Then, next one is 12, count 7, and then 1 and 7.714, you know, 2857. That infinite decimal that comes when you divide anything by 7. The prime numbers, there's so much amazingness. Look what happens when you look at 19. Get a sum of 20, a count of 10, average of 2, which is basically showing creation and creator. This is infinite oneness. This is infinite duality. 20 is infinite duality, creator and creation. The growth of creator and creation. And 10 is infinite oneness, so it's, you know, cohesiveness and infinite growth. Average is 2 because it's creator and creation. Parent and child. Universe and God. So there's so many amazing patterns here. And they're not meaningless. That doesn't mean we can always interpret them. I can't always interpret them. But those ones that I did describe, I am interpreting. Some of these are not so easy, though. But you can find the most amazing patterns. Like, it's just amazing. Like, look here. At prime 41, the difference sums to 42. I mean, I guess that makes sense, but it's still amazing. The more you think about mathematics, even the simple things that are obvious become amazing because they start to be contextualized. So when people are like, oh, well, yeah, that's obvious. It's like, yeah, but when you start to understand why it's that way, it's still profound. Numbers are amazing. this, just the story that they can tell when you know what to look for is incredible. And nobody knows exactly what to look for. But I've done this work long enough that I know what I'm seeing when I see 4. I know what I'm seeing when I see 6. I know what I'm seeing when I see 8. 11, 19. 19 is an amazing number because it is the 9th prime number if you start at 1. It is the 10th prime number if you start at 0. And it is the 8th prime number if you start at 2. Which is very interesting because this is essentially what we see with this in the periodicity of the stages of sentience. You can see that there's 8, and this one would be 9, which is actually the same as this one. And then 10 would be right here. And it would be the creation of the next. And then this one is 11. So basically, what you'd see here is essentially this. So right here, the beginning of life anew in a new aeon or a new cosmological verse at a hadron. So that's why it's 11, which is 1 by 1. That's where I think the 11 comes from in string theory, but who knows? They don't seem to link it to reality ever. But that's the main instance in which I see 11. It is important. I'm not saying it's not, but we don't exist in 11 dimensions. I hate that word dimension. It's just too open to interpretation, even from a physics perspective where they're like, it's a degree of freedom. It's not even just a degree of freedom. It can also be a constraint, and it's just not a degree of freedom. And if it is just a degree of freedom, then we need new terms like parameters, like Eric Weinstein has used in geometric unity, or perspectives like I've used in Sentient Singularity Theory, because they are more accurate to a meta theory, which gives rise to the degrees of freedom that you would see in physics, like XYZ or length with height. Those are degrees of freedom, but objectively, space in my model is forwards towards a goal, backwards towards where you've already been in your goal seeking, and you're always in your current moment or your current location. So that is space because it's oriented towards a goal. This is also the same as how constructor theory views everything, which is why I would yield to constructor theory's name potentially, but then you have past, present, future as time. So space-time is past, present, future, forwards, backwards, current location. That's more objective. But prime numbers are amazing because, like I was saying, you can see here that basically if you started this here at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then there would be like 9 levels. But what's interesting is that 19 is 1 and 9. And 1 and 9 are they are encompassing of all numbers almost, which is like, you start at 1, you end at 9. Then you go to 10, which is 1 and 0. So you've change the pattern now, and numbers are being reused. But essentially, the only numbers that really exist are 1 through 9. And you see that mirrored in the quantum of consciousness. Because when you sum the interior sum is 19, count is 9. The Quran, somebody commented on my Instagram that the Quran is basically like hides within it a pattern of 19 everywhere, which is true. I've known that for a while, but I don't look into it. A Muslim friend of mine told me that a Islamic scholar who was like genius focused on it too much and then went crazy. But I mean, he might not have gone crazy. He might have just realized something nobody else knew the depth of, and he just focused on it. But maybe he went crazy. But I mean, 19 is very important. There's also this like video that is shared by Robert Edward Grant and Light is Consciousness and all those like sacred geometry Instagram pages where it's this line with a bunch of joints in it, and it's spinning, and as it spins it creates a star, then it creates a square, then it creates a triangle, then it creates, you know, a hexagon and an octagon and a pentagon and all these various shapes as it spins. And once I decided to count the joints in that line that seems to be able to make pretty much every shape other than a circle, but it is making a circle because it's spinning. And the number of joints is 19 to make every shape, which is fascinating too. Three spatial dimensions and then whatever quantifiable parameter we want to call a dimension. Chiral, Tyrol. Dimension should be defined by measurable sentience and other redundancies. What do you mean? Yeah, I don't know what you mean either. If intelligent life can't exist within a dimension, is it even relevant to theorize about? There should be a clear definition between what is inert and what is sentient. There is clear definitions. It's now this. This is the clear definitions. These are sentient. Nothing else other than God. And he creates, this is the logos or generative structure of existence, of God. But you know, the oneness of existence itself is a sentience, and then these are all of the singularities of sentience being created within that existence perpetually. And so that is sentient. Nothing else is sentient. So cars are not sentient, and you know, water bottles are not sentient. Rocks are not sentient. Crystals would be sentient. Not necessarily anymore. Once they're no longer growing. Maybe not. I don't know. I need to think about it more. But the molecules within the crystal, which are what make up the crystalline structure to begin with, so technically, yes, the crystal would still be sentient, but it's that the molecules are sentient, not necessarily the crystal once it stops growing. While it's growing, it's just a molecular sentience, but it's you know, moving in unison. But it would still be here on this level. Like when I first started this, I was like going through, I think I even have it here. Yeah. I was like, oh, there's you know, plants and crystals below that, and animals above plants, and just kind of like trying to map this type of uh, periodicity of, you know, or stages of sentience. But I'm pretty sure that that is um, not correct. So, wow, this is really old stuff. But where is it? Wow, look at that. When I made this once, and this was just like so good. It was just so good. It was when I like nailed it. The stages of sentience. They're not perfect. Like it says particle instead of hadron, but other than that, it's pretty much perfect. And for some reason, I intrinsically knew this. This like repeating 9 is equal to 1 in a way, and then you get oneness, and it repeats and repeats. And I had even divided the Abrahamic theological traditions and put them between the scientific fields that would be the objective fields, so like quantum physics, Newtonian physics, chemistry, biology, ecology, genealogy, and sociology. It's like trying to map and understand the theological traditions as well. We're going to do a stream on the Ten Commandments because they are very profound. Once I was trying to like I was trying to map how to create peace in society, and I found myself starting to map the Ten Commandments, and then I was like, okay, wait, this is already done. So this right here, so like you can see, I was trying to look at like I say ownership here, but it's really like management. It's like pure consciousness slash creation. So it would be like the universe, which is basically technological singularity, but it's when technological singularity becomes wise. So they are able to manage humans. Humans are able to manage animals. Animals are able to manage plants. Plants are able to manage land or, you know, minerals. I was just kind of like looking at that and trying to figure out where stars fit into this. I don't think stars objectively exist like planets. I think that a planet is actually the reflection of a star. Like literally. That's what I think it is. It's like I guess like a star would be like the negative, maybe, and then a planet would be positive charged, or maybe the opposite, but they're reflections of each other. They're reflections of existence. They're a planet or Earth and star are basically the two sides of the coin that is uh, like worlds, I guess you could say. The world. They're not objective, like they're not sentient, I don't think. I thought stars were sentient for a while, potentially, but I don't think they are anymore. I don't think stars are, and I don't think planets are. You know, I could never show my work in school. I mean, I wrote down my work in math, so that it made sense to me, so that I could just remember where I left off. But I like saved my work in this much better than I ever did in school. It's pretty funny. I mean, it's still a mess. It's not like I do it by anybody's, you know, I don't know, predefined uh, recipe, but still. Like I said, this is just a working session, guys. I appreciate everybody being here. This isn't going to be very long, though, because I have some phone calls to make and some work to do. But I wanted to stream for a bit and just kind of like look over some stuff. Let's see. Maybe a lot of... I like the number 69. It seems pretty cool. You know what's funny about 69 is... so Robert Edward Grant, and I haven't sent this to him, but like I know he'd laugh at it, but... And I know Robert Grant like decently well, kind of. Like we're not like best friends or anything, but we actually talk fairly often, and we've had some like long Skype discussions. But he posted that his new paper that's coming out is called The Product Sum Conjecture, which is great because it lines up with this, which is the product, because these are all calculated via multiplication, and these are all the sums. So this right here, structure, is part of the product sum conjecture. It's the reason for the product sum conjecture. And he is publishing a paper about right triangles and his, mapping of the structure that is the simultaneous multiplication and addition of information. And he's calling it the product sum conjecture. And I think that's a great title. But what's funny is 69 is 6 times 9 plus 6 plus 9, I think. Which means that 69 is the answer to the product sum conjecture. I almost like, I found a meme, I came across a meme that had basically said that, and I was gonna send it to Robert Grant and be like, this is the product sum conjecture, but I didn't, because, like, I know him, but we're not that close. At least not right now. But, it was very funny. I'm sure he would laugh at it. I'm holding on to it for one day when I have the guts to send it. That is a very interesting aspect of that number. It's almost like the other closest one to 69 is 4, because 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 plus 2 is 4, which is why it is the end point of the calculation of information, because it's the inevitable point via, summing and, producing, I guess you could say, or stacking and multiplying, as I call it. DNA is the crystalline structure, by the way, so technically I am correct. Yes, it is a crystalline structure, but everything here in Bott-Periodicity is a crystalline structure. Everything. Atoms are, hadrons are, molecules are, cells are, like you are, families are, castes are, because they are replicative structures that don't deviate, really. So, you are a crystalline structure, and so is your DNA. But is DNA alive on its own, or is it only alive with the help of complementary structures? Everything is only alive with the help of complementary structures. Everything is supported by the previous and all the previous stages or levels of life, preceding it, all the way up to God. God is basically the supporter of all of the creation, all of the universe. But, molecules are supported by atoms, which are supported by hadrons, which are supported by quarks, which are force points, which is supported by information and energy, which is put in by a sentient being, either God or like sentient existence or a preceding aeon or cosmological verse. Which is a messianic consciousness for, in religious or in theological language. Nothing is alive other than God with outside of support of other structures. I wonder if entanglement happens on a diminishing wave 1 to 9 repeating. It does. That's a very good question, like observation or guess, or what Robert Grant is looking at warp. He thinks that mod 9 resonance frequencies are going to be key to warp transportation, I'm pretty sure, and he's probably right. Planets are called moving stars. Stars are moving. Stars have hydrogen fusion, but are all made of the same stuff. Yeah, they're all made of the same stuff. We are made of the same stuff as stars. It's all Earth structures. So that includes moons and, other planets and stuff like that. They're all just the reflection of stars. One is positive, one is negative, one is active, one is reactive. I need to think about which is which. I guess you could say probably stars are active, but it's not even really that, because they're not sentient, so it's not as clear. GHAI hypothesis, Gaia hypothesis, where the whole planet is considered a life form. It's not a life form, though. That's wrong. Existence, the universe, or a verse, the cosmological verse, is a life form. All of the cosmos is a life form, but and Earth structures like Mars and Earth and the moon and other, dusty bodies, I guess you could say, like, they are perspectives of that cosmos, and so are stars, but they are each of those not intrinsically sentient. I don't think. I've thought a lot about it, and I just don't think so. They're basically they're like a quark. A quark is a force point, okay, on a micro scale. They're the assembly of information and energy, but they're not sentient. They're like the fingers of a sentience, but your fingers are not sentient, but they're controlled by a sentience. That's also true of planets and stars, I think. So they're like macro quarks, or macro force points, I guess you could say. 69 is the answer to a lot of problems. That's very funny. We tend to talk more about 42 here, but I do sometimes look up, the mathematical aspect. We're going to look up the mathematical aspects of the number 69. This might be dangerous, actually, to do this, but Okay, yeah, I don't want to like just be Googling 69 on here. We'll do here. We can do it because nothing bad is going to come up. It's an odd composite number composed of two prime numbers multiplied together. It's 3 times 23, which is interesting because we have 23 chromosomes. 23 is an interesting number. I think it's a prime. It is a prime. And it is the prime after 19. Look at that. The count is 11. The sum is 101. What are the odds of that? Probably 100%. The average is 9.18181818, just repeating forever. That's an interesting number. Look at that. When you start at 2, as most of mathematics does, start prime numbers at 2, not at 1 or 0, which is really infinity. But infinity is a prime, but it's not really a prime. It's like semi-prime, and it's not really a number, but it is only divisible by itself and 1. So if you divide infinity by 1, you get infinity. If you divide infinity by anything, you get infinity. But if you divide infinity by 1, you get infinity. And if you divide infinity by infinity, you get 1, essentially. But it's not really a number. It's just infinite growth. But if you start at 2 here, the average of the primes going to 23 is 11.11111 repeating forever. The count is 9, and the sum is 100. That is fascinating. And on 23, look, you end on a quadratic difference, I guess you could say. Which means that the difference between 23 and 19 is 4. Also, interestingly enough, differences between the differences of all of them summed going all the way back is 4. The count is 11. That's interesting. Whoa. When you start at 1 and you go to 19, the average is 0.11111 repeating forever. The count is 9 and the sum is 1. Fascinating. My friend is calling me. And I don't know if any of you know about that guy who was "Don't Tase Me, Bro." He was like the guy who like was tased during the John Kerry and Bush elections for asking about like whether or not John Kerry and George Bush were in the same like cult at Skull and Bones cult at Yale, and he was tased by the cop, and it was like all over the news. That's who just called me. He is a very good friend of mine, and also a living meme, which is pretty funny. "24 is interesting too because apes have 24 pairs of chromosomes. If you look at one of our 23, you can see it's a fusion of 2 chromosomes cause the end pieces of chromosomes are found in the middle." That's fascinating. Makes a lot of sense. I'm copying that and I'm going to look more into it. Why can't I? There we go. Okay. We can talk about that on another stream. That sounds fascinating. One question I have pondered on, I don't believe 0 is a number. It's not. If you go to sentientsingularity.com, linked in the description of this video below, and you click on writings at the top on my website, there's an article that I wrote on that page called Reimagining 1 and 0. 0, it explains 0. 0 is, it says exactly what you just said, and that basically in the theory of everything, or in objectivity, 0 is equal to infinity and 1 at the same time. But it's not really nothing, because nothingness doesn't actually exist. Nothingness is non-existence, and non-existence doesn't exist in objectivity, only in subjectivity. Oh, I remember that. Don't tase me, bro. Wasn't that like inside a conference room? Yeah, it was. Tell your friend I said thank you for your service. I will tell him. I'm actually going to call him back in probably like... How long have I been streaming here? An hour. I think I'm going to call it. Any final questions, anyone? I will answer any final questions. Otherwise, please hit the like button. It helps a lot. I hate saying it. I really do. It is odd that like YouTube is not like Instagram, where on Instagram you mindlessly like anything that you like, but on YouTube, even I watch tons of videos that I like, and I usually don't like them unless I'm trying to support someone's content, and I would appreciate that from anyone here. But it is odd that you have to like be so conscious about hitting the like button on YouTube. It's a very intentional thing, but I would sincerely appreciate it. It would really help boost the algorithm and boost this work within the algorithm. So yeah, when people threw a shoe at George Bush, people made a meme out of it. Yep, they did. Up to 4 likes. Awesome. Thank you. But I appreciate, more than the likes, I appreciate every single one of the 8 people currently viewing, and everybody else that will view this, and everybody else that has watched a bit and then jumped off. It is, it's great that this work is resonating with people and that people are finding it valuable. That is the only reason why it's worth talking about. So I will be back Monday at 9 p.m. Tomorrow, though, is our Discord discussion. If you would like to participate in a live Discord discussion with me and a number of other people that show up every week, and it's always a great conversation. It goes well into the night. It's totally live and open. Anyone can speak whenever. There is no like, it's not me lecturing to everybody else. And we can talk about things that normally cannot be discussed on YouTube without, having your channel taken down. Message me on my Instagram and I will send you a Discord link. That will be tomorrow at 7 p.m. So that's always a great time, though. But it's a growing group, and I highly recommend people joining. I go over the details of some of this work that I haven't yet gone over here. We talk about things very in depth, much more in depth here, and I get to hear ideas from you guys, and I get to meet you guys in a more personal way, and that's very important. So I have a Discord server. That's the Theory of Every0ne Discord server, and it's kind of just focused on building a community around this work, which is very, very important. Community is one of those structures that supports individuals, and individuals support communities. They don't actually exist outside of each other, as we talked about earlier. So send me a message and I will send you a link. But thanks again, guys. And if you would like to keep up with this work, if it gets taken down off of YouTube, which it inevitably will, and Instagram, which it inevitably will, then please go to my website, linked in the description of this video, and scroll down to the bottom of the homepage and add your email to my email list. I will not spam you. I have not sent out anything other than one welcome email when you first sign up. And other than that, I haven't even sent out any emails, which probably should send at least like one or two, but I will not spam you. But at least you will be on a contact list in case we do get banned. I can tell you where we're moving next until we eventually make our actual new social media platform that I've discussed with some people on the Discord server more in depth, but I have been working on it, and it is going to happen because it needs to. It's a very interesting project. Can I be an honorary Jew? I always like Jewish people. You can convert, but I mean, I'm happy to call you an honorary Jew, but if you really want to be a Jew, you can always convert. It's work, but anyone can do it. Anyways, it does require giving up cheeseburgers and bacon, which is very tough because I love both of those things. Maybe I have to marry a Jewish girl. Hook me up. You don't have to marry a Jewish girl to be Jewish. If you marry a Jewish girl, you won't be Jewish, but your children will be. So, but you can just convert if you want to be Jewish. But anyways, thanks again, guys, and I will talk to you tomorrow if you're going to be in the Discord discussion, and if not, then I will be back 9 p.m. Next week.